Sarah, you have something to say, I believe.
We will have
Nothing
to
like.
get that. Sorry, we will have to get this sorted though with that feedback when we work out where it's coming from.
Mm,
But we'll
You can
keep you
hear
up
it
to
too,
date.
can you?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming through, but we'll push on. So we have a new guest today, Donna. Very exciting to have Donna here from the NT, or sorry, Northern Australis, as I should call it now. So just to give everyone a little bit of background, Donna is reconveyed. She is a member, I believe, of the National Treasury Committee. Is that correct? Yep. And has offered, she's a bookkeeper by trade or by profession, I should say. And quite a few months ago, I was chatting to Donna about this because it took her a little while to kind of become reconveyed. Not because she didn't see the sense in reconveying, but because she is a bookkeeper, she could not pull herself out of the system because being in that profession, like doctors and tradies and stuff like that, she needed to be able to work in the maritime. That's her job. So it took Donna quite a while to sort of wrap her head around when to use what autograph or signature, depending on what hat she was wearing, whether she was Donna the living woman or Donna the bookkeeper or whatever. So, and I was talking to her one day and she said, it's not that hard. You just need to wrap your head around who you are when you've got that piece of paper in front of you and what capacity you're operating in. And I thought, wow, there's not a lot of people that actually kind of think through it like that. So I thought it might be really good to get Donna on the call so we can ask her questions because I know a lot of people grapple with that. And it might be good to hear about it from someone else's perspective who's operating with that all the time. And Donna has done quite a bit of research in this, so um, I'll I'll drop it here and let Donna talk for herself now. I'll shut up.
Thanks, Sarah. It's a bit difficult to know where to start because I don't know where everybody's at, but I was hesitant to join TASA because I don't know if you remember Wayne, but in my office one day he's saying if you've got to be fully reconveyed, you can't have a business, you can't do this and you can't do that. And I said, well, I just can't do that. This is my business and I have to be able to live. So I can't reconvey. Um, but then after a while, looking at it, I thought there's got to be a way you can do both. You must be able to live in both of the systems. You must be able to live as a living woman and as a straw person, as we would say. And there is. You've just got to figure out which hat you're going to wear when you're, like Sarah said, when you've got a form in front of you, when you're doing something, when you're transacting or whatever you're going to do. So, and since then, of course, I know people that have done the fully reconveyed living on the land thing and can't afford fuel to come into town for a meeting or have to get someone else to buy the alcohol because you have to show a driver's license or stuff like that. So to me, I think until the whole system collapses and is fully reset, we need to be able to live in both. Um, so, having said that, there are a number of ways. It's not just writing VC in front of your autograph on things. So sometimes, say, as a business, right? The only way in the corporate world that a business could pay somebody is if they're an employee or you've got a valid tax invoice, right? So one way that a reconveyed individual could get around that, because I have a lot of not-for-profits as clients, and a lot of the people they pay are umpires or, young people or things like that, and they don't actually work for them and they don't have a business. So the way that they get around that is you fill out a form that is from the tax office called a statement by supplier, and on it you're saying why you don't have an ABN and that you'll be responsible for declaring your income in your own tax return. That absolves the business and they can pay you and record that. There's other ways as well because I believe some people here have got unincorporated associations. Wayne, did you get one when that guy came around and we went to that workshop?
Neville and Leah, you're talking about that workshop.
Yeah, yeah.
I already had a foundation for quite a while before they came up here, so I've been using that for nearly 3 years, I think, Donna. Yeah, yeah.
So why would you have set that up, and how do you use that? Do you use it?
Well, it's not that difficult to set up. You just need some guidance, and it did cost me a few dollars at the time. And with hindsight, and even looking now at what you're saying right now, we're all learning on the fly here. We're all learning on the way through. And 3 years ago or whatever, when I put that in place, that looked like the best option for me. And we're all having the same battle in our head that you're talking about. If you're reconveyed, how do you work? How do you get paid? And how do you do this? And how do you do that? So that's what I did, and it worked for me. If I had the choice now, maybe I'd do it differently, but that's sort of what I've got set up. So I work for a family business, and we've still got some feedback there, and I contract to them, or I don't contract, the foundation contract. They pay the foundation, so that works for me. And we've all found different ways around it, I guess.
Do you have an ABN for that foundation?
No, it's not. It's not tied to the tax office in any way.
Yeah. So see, there are ways, legitimate ways that you can operate, and one of them would be in Australia. It's called an unincorporated association, and what they are is it's a not-for-profit in the sense that it is an association for a purpose. So you figure out what the purpose might be, set up your unincorporated association with a bank account, and then you would bill, not invoice, then you bill whoever you're doing services rendered for, and provide them with a statement by supplier to say that you're not running a business and you haven't got an ABN. And then that absolves them and they can pay you. So just that would be a private thing working in a corporate world.
Yeah. We've got
but the thing is too that when you do that, you've got to go out of the system in the fact that no one's going to pay your PAYG, no one's going to pay super or anything like that. You have to be prepared to just invoice them for sustenance or services rendered, and statement by supplier, and that's legitimate.
That statement by supplier, Donna, that's probably I would say the same form that I filled out for the foundation. I think that feedback's coming from me, and I have no idea why.
Your foundation should have like a constitution, minutes of meetings, and all those sort of things.
Yeah, it's got all that. And you can still start them, but they don't. The banks don't like giving you an account anymore. And I didn't know much about it back then, but I ended up getting two accounts in the finish. But now, if you start one now, I know a friend of mine in WA who started one, and she was having a terrible job getting a bank account. So
yeah.
But that tax form, do you have to fill that out every year, or you just fill it out once and that's it?
No, you fill it out once and give it to the person that you're invoicing.
Yeah.
And they just keep it on file. Some of the clients that I used to work with, like say a sporting organisation, I'd make sure they got one every 12 months, but I don't think it matters. As long as they've got it and they keep it on file to say that you're the one that's going to be responsible if they ever get audited. You're the one that's going to be responsible for paying any tax if your association is
It's
corporate. If it's not
yeah,
corporate, then it doesn't pay tax.
yeah. That's funny. I'm learning all this off you today, Donna, and we've actually got a bloke on Darwin right now that's joined us for a couple of meetings over the last 3 or 4 weeks. He needs to have a talk to you, and I'll organise that like over the
Okay.
weekend or whatever. He needs to have a talk with you. I think he's very
Right.
stressed. He wants to follow what we're doing, but he needs to make money. So he probably needs to get some ideas off you. Yeah.
That's
Hence the dilemma, like it is a dilemma. If you've got responsibilities, if you've got kids or you've got people have mortgages or, you've got to be able to live. You can't go completely out of the system if you can't live in that way. So you need to be able to get your head around, am I being the living woman or man, or am I being the straw person and I'm in the corporate world? You just need to get your head around that. And I guess know your rights, like we've all got some people say unalienable and some people say unalienable because they can't be taken off you. And we've got those rights. So,
Can I just jump in there, Wayne? I'm having trouble seeing where the hand up is this week for some reason to put a hand up. But just a question, Donna, Alan here. So just so I can clarify this for people watching, because people can watch this later when it's recorded. You're saying that by giving that statement to a supplier, that basically gives that person or that corporate company, they don't have to worry about when the tax office contacts them or whatever. That sort of gives them okay, this wasn't our responsibility, we've given it to them, so that makes them all happy. But you're saying that you then you bill them instead of invoicing. Can you explain for those people who are watching the difference, please?
Right. So if you're in the private as a for-purpose unincorporated association with no ABN, then you're not talking corporate. You're not tax invoice. You're not invoice. You are not invoicing for so many hours of labour or these things that I've provided. You're billing them. So I guess we go back to like old terms. You're billing them for services rendered, or you're billing them for sustenance because it's not a corporate thing that you're providing. You're not providing 5 hours labour at such and such a rate. So we have to get our heads around different ways of thinking. And, your unincorporated association might be to assist or help people with their business responsibilities, not provide bookkeeping, BAS agent services in my situation. So you got to get your head around thinking, what is this for purpose organisation that I'm setting up? It's for a purpose, and this is the purpose.
Okay. So really, the problem's not so much us understanding. Like we can talk to you, and we can all understand that, and we can all find the tax form because it'll have a number. I think it's 3317 or something.
I've got it. If you want me to share it on the screen, I can.
Yeah, all right.
That'd be good, Sarah, because we can go through the points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, Wayne.
No, you're right. It wasn't you anyway, Donna. It was Sarah that interrupted. Hold on while I let her interrupt some more. So it's the problem's not us understanding. It's the potential employers or organisations. Can we get them to understand what it is we're trying to do, and will they go along with it? Because everybody's frightened of the tax office, I think. So, Sarah, Donna, do you want to...
Technically, if they've got a professional bookkeeper / certified BAS agent, they would know about the statement by supplier form. So, maybe you do have to educate businesses, but it is from the ATO, as you can see. So you just put your details in there and the reasons that you're not quoting an ABN.
Just if I can just interject for a moment, Susie that we had on last week, she uses this form, and the box that she ticks is the payer is not making the payment in the course of carrying on an enterprise in Australia, because of course she's reconveyed to the land and soil of Terra Australis. So that she ticks that, and she's got her documents to show that unrebutted. And she's taken that to her accountant, and her accountant says there is absolutely nothing unlawful or illegal about what you're doing. He said, he wasn't aware of it, but when he saw the form, he was like, go for it. You're not doing anything.
Hey, and that's right. And educating accountants as well, because they're educated one way. Doesn't mean that it's the only way. So, you might have to educate them as well. Yeah, but it's a legitimate form, and it's used by not-for-profits all the time. It's a NAT 3036 or whatever it was down the bottom.
Just scroll again,
yeah, because
Sarah, when we get the number.
3346. Because like I said, if you're footy or cricket organization and you're paying umpires, and you don't pay them $100, like they get paid a fair amount of money, but they're all working, doing their jobs, and they do this part-time, referees, umpires, whatever you want to call them, and they're not employed by that club. So how do you pay them? So they have to give you a statement by supplier as well. So it does happen. It's just we haven't heard about it, and yeah, now we have.
Now we have. Now we know. And that is the same form that I filled out about 3 years ago.
So just for people to know, I'll send Wayne the link to that form, and we'll put it in the description under the show, so you can go and just click on it. I yield.
Hopefully there'll be a massive download all around Australia.
And you can get it on the ATO website, ato.gov.au. So, you can get it there as well.
Well, there you go. So it's as simple as that. And
so can I just ask a question there, Donna, again? So if you're dealing with a big corporation, I've got some people who in our assembly that have tried this, but the big corporations don't want to look at that form. Then basically you can't trade with them, or trade's not right the word, do anything with them. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, and unfortunately that might be the case. We hear that a lot in TASA, that you just might not be able to do it. It is legitimate, and they can take the statement by supplier and a bill from you, but if they don't want to do it, I guess that's their business. They don't want your business, so you might have to find somebody else.
If you were trying to do business with Woolies or Coles or Bunnings or something, I would say there would be absolutely no chance. So
it depends what you want to do. Like if you're going to go there and you want to stock shelves like an employee, they probably wouldn't, because they can get 20 people to do it anyway. They'd rather pick someone that's not going to be a hassle or not going to be different. But it depends. If you've got something that they want, then you could.
Just depends how good you can talk, Donna, right? How good you are at convincing people that they should look at something different. So, any more questions for Donna?
So you had your hand up before.
I was going to give a suggestion on the feedback, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I think the feedback is coming from Donna's speaker. Maybe her microphone is too close to her speakers. That can sometimes do it. So a way around that is, if you're not speaking, Donna, just hit the mute button. But it is showing up worse for some reason when Wayne speaks. Yeah. I do have a question, though, now that I've got your ear. Regarding the tax file numbers. Now, a lot of young people just going into the workforce, of course, they're all nervous and they have no life experience yet, and they'll go into their first or second employer, and the first thing they're hit with is fill out this tax file number form. So is there, and again, are we looking at the exact same thing? They have to be good at talking their way around that, which is a big ask for someone who's 16, 17, 18. So do you have any advice for them or any forms that look very, you know, from the ATO that people could use in that situation?
It's the same thing. So one of my not-for-profits does employ young people, and they will accept a statement by supplier. But that's another thing too, is just the tax file number declaration. You are now, you know, applying for that. So if the word of the day is contract, there's your contract with GovCorp, you know, and you don't have to, in the bookkeeping world, if somebody doesn't supply a tax file number, there are codes that you can use. But if you're going to be an employee as such, they will want you to have a tax file number. But you could bill them with a statement by supplier. But trying to convince them to do that, especially as a young person that's probably not very confident yet, will be a pretty big ask. I think it would be very difficult for them to get around that.
It just shows you how much coercion there is in our system and why they go at them while they're young. And they feel like someone in authority who has the power to not employ them and deny them, you know, making a living, that they feel they have to fold on that. I'm looking at one example I know just at the minute of a young man who's just about to be employed by a mechanic, and he'd love to do a mechanic apprenticeship. So that's going to tie him into the system as well. The apprenticeship itself will come with coercive inducements from the government to the you know, the mechanic who's going to oversee the apprenticeship. So again, you're roped in all the time, you know, the webs that they've got to get you in there. Anyway, but we've got to keep looking for ways around it.
And there you go. See, he's now going to step into that jurisdiction. So he's going into the corporate jurisdiction. And if he wants an apprenticeship, there's probably no other way around it. You have to be an employee. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
We have to just get good at doing our tax forms as the living as well, and that can be done too if you've been coerced into the system or if you're still in the system. Which
oh, sorry, Donna, you go.
No, I was just going to say, wait, hopefully soon the system will collapse. So, you know,
well, yeah,
it'll be great.
Yeah, well, that'd be good. But you talk about coercion, you know, the people that are doing that, they don't even know they're doing that. They're not awake either. So it's something that's been put in place, and it just sits on the top of society as a whole, really. I'm not
very
sure
interesting. It's very interesting, this young man I'm talking about, the prospective mechanic that's going to employ him is actually a minister as well. And I thought, isn't that interesting that he has no concept of what he actually, of the sermons that he gives on Sundays. And he's quite happy to move his allegiance from actually God to other gods during the week. And he seems to be unaware that he's doing it. So
he's just changed his hat, too.
Well, that's a big hat to change if you get up on a pulpit and people's sermons.
And they're all exempt from everything, aren't they? Religious organisations. They're exempt from everything.
They've all done a deal with the government. They're all done a deal so they don't pay any tax.
But the joke of that is they never ever had to. They were never in a position where they had to pay tax. They were told that if you fill in this, you know, become incorporated, which then put them under the jurisdiction of the government. They literally incorporated all the churches, I think, with the exception of the Catholic Church. And it roped them all in to that world of commerce. And I found that astonishing when that happened, that every single one of those churches seemed to have no concept of what it was they thought they believed. It was amazing.
It is. I'm not sure who had their hand up first. I think it was Ray. So normally it's ladies before gentlemen, but I think you had your hand up first, Ray. And Donna can complain if I'm wrong anyway.
It's actually Anita before me.
Anita, would you like to speak?
Thank you,
I
Ray.
called you before,
Just in case
Donna.
I was, I'm not sure if I was. I think we sort of simultaneously put our hands up. But my question to Donna was, what would a veterinary practice do? Because they actually give the medicine out. Like it's not like in our case, you go and see a JP and then you go and pick up the medicine at the sorry, my dogs are gonna bark now. Sorry, then you pick up the medicine from the pharmacy. Vets work differently. They have to basically do everything, get the anesthetic, and we used to call it the green dream when you actually put an animal to sleep for good, barbiturates and things like that. So they will need licensing, obviously, for those kind of medicines. And then, of course, they also need anesthetic to be able to anesthetize these animals for a broken leg, or a cancer removal, or any operations, sterilization and things like that. What would you advise to a vet? How would they reconvey their business, or can't they? I yield.
No, see, they're in the situation, same as any other business that needs licensing and things like that. They have to be corporate. So in my situation, my business is corporate. Come 1st of July, I'm going to move myself out of the business, but my business still has to stay corporate. You have to, if you've got to have compliance things. Like for me, I have to have my tax practitioners board registration. I have to have all of these licenses, and I am technically in the business of compliance. So my business has to be like that. So would a vet, so would a doctor, lawyers, anybody, accountants, anybody like that. Your business, especially if it has an ABN, it's corporate. So it has, there's nothing that you can do with that one. I think the only way that you could really work around that is to just reconvey the individual, not the business. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Some people, I think, are reconveying their or putting their businesses in the private, but I haven't done that yet, and I haven't really been around that long enough yet to know what they do. So.
Okay, cool. That answers my question. Thank you so much.
I believe I heard James say one day that they have got a doctor in their assembly down there, and he's probably unlicensed in their eyes, but he works as a medical practitioner or some such, just a different term. But I don't know the details of it, but perhaps Anita talking to James might be a good place to start with that inquiry as well, because he did say something about having a doctor down there that was part of the assembly and doing weird shit like we do. So
yeah, I suppose with a doctor, if you just go for a JP, they look at you, take your temperature, and go, I think you've got the flu. And then they give you a prescription, and then you can go and pick it up at the chemist. So he could possibly become a private physician, but if you go in there to get a little wart removed on your finger, and they now need anesthetic, then now he needs, the local anesthetic stuff to inject into your finger, and for that he needs a license. So it's still sort of the same thing, but if he's just a doctor doing prescriptions to go and get to the vet, I suppose it's easier to step out. But it's if you want the medicine itself to actually do small little procedures like removing a wart from your finger, that is maybe when you will need a license. So your business, there's not many business streams coming to your business except for consultations and going, oh yeah, that's eczema, go and get some cream. Oh yeah, that's a headache, go and get a headache tablet at the chemist. So, that will make it easier for them, but to do small little procedures in their practice might be a little bit more difficult. I yield.
Thanks, Anita. Ray,
it'd be like people that remember when you couldn't claim on private health insurance if you went to a chiropractor or a physio or Reiki or anything like that, any of the what they call alternative, but they should be original. It'd be like that, I would say. So
Yeah.
if they're not sort of in that industry, original medicine that's not recognised by the system, then yeah, they'd have to be corporate.
Yeah, you actually brought something up that's very good now, because what about bulk billing? So I suppose in those doctors won't be able to do bulk billing because they're not in the system. So you have to pay them the full amount plus maybe a little bit more because they don't have that income stream from different incomes from, little procedures and things like that. Thank you. Yes, that made me think. Thank you so much, Donna. I healed.
It does bring up the topic of the fact that most of these occupations are actually occupations of common right, and them having been licensed is only a fairly modern thing anyway, I would suggest, as they all got dragged into maritime law. So, and that's something else that needs to collapse along with the rest of the banking system, and it is all tied to the banking system and the commercial system of law. So that's a big rabbit hole to go down that. But you're right, you would call yourself a physician. And at the moment, I think a general practitioner, they're very much licensed, but a physician, that's the old term for the doctors. Yeah. And the JP is the guy I go to get all my stuff witnessed. So I wouldn't be taking prescriptions off him, I don't reckon, Anita.
Sorry, I mean GP, general practitioner.
And it would depend on what you were willing to pay for. I mean, I would go to a massage therapist and pay cash and not claim that. I would be willing to not claim that on private health or Medicare. I don't know if they are Medicare, but it depends on I guess the general public, what you're willing to pay for and what you're willing to do. And I get a lot more people are waking up now. So, a lot of businesses out there and a lot of people that do trade are going to become aware of ways of not being in the corporate system, I guess.
But again, there in Medicare, if you they don't want to pay for massages or chiropractor, you basically coerced in a different form to go.
That would be private extras, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll butt in there because
these people. Sorry, if you talk to these people, they often will treat you privately. We've found doctors who will treat you privately and not put you through the Medicare system. You just pay them when you go. Yeah. So it's always worth talking to them. I yield.
Always worth asking the question. Speaking of questions, Ray, you're not used to being quiet for so long, so I better invite you to speak. You've had your hand up there for a while.
No, I was just going to ask, going back to the business about applying for work or whatever. That will all work if you're doing a private foundation or you're, whatever. But what if you're a pay-as-you-go employee? I don't see there's any way around that. Very few employers are going to let you do that because they're worried about getting in trouble from the tax office. And secondly, what about if you want to go for a bank loan and you've got the unincorporated association or the foundation or whatever? How will you get a bank loan to, say, get a property or something? So I just thought I'd ask Donna, and thanks for the info too. I yield.
Yeah, well, a bank loan would be something. Can you hear that go past? A bank loan would be something, I guess, that would be quite difficult to get, especially considering some banks won't even give you an account for an unincorporated association. So it'll be a case of shopping around, and this will be new too. I don't think that there would be many banks just yet that have been approached for loans through UAs, but I'm pretty sure that there will be coming up in the future. So there might be a way of doing it, say using a trust or whatever, something like that, with your unincorporated association. But at this point, I don't know. I think that would be difficult.
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, well, it's not a problem, but I feel like we're on the cusp of change. We all know that there's going to be change, and it has started in other parts of the world. There's not too many signs of it here just yet, but it is coming. So all this will get sorted, I guess, when the shit hits the fan, and we'll work it out then. Sarah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same as what Sue and that have already covered a little bit. You know, probably as a vet, you'd do the same. You'd practice as a physician rather than a vet, because it's the same as most things. Yeah, you know, you've got competency, but then you've got a certificate over here. So they're two different things, like competency to drive and then a license to drive. They're not the same. What we would really like is a really good compounding chemist, because if we had a compounding chemist that was reconveyed, they could then help the physicians and the vets. So just putting that out there, if someone wants to think about that.
Just on that note, compound vets, when I was still working at the vets, there were only 2 in WA in our area.
Compounding chemists are hard to find. They're really, really
very
hard
hard
to
to find.
Yep. And a lot of them are either Indian or Asian, in my experience, which means that generally speaking, they're quite locked in to the system. So there was that. And Donna, I just wanted to ask, because you said, you know, come the new financial year, you're going to take yourself out of the business, but the business will be there. So how are you going to manage that? Like, how does that look?
So instead of being an employee of my business, I will bill them from my UA. I will bill the business for my sustenance or services rendered. Okay, I have another employee.
Yeah.
So my corporate straw person will still be in the business for the registrations and all of that, but my private person will be my unincorporated UA that will bill the business for my sustenance and services rendered.
So do you have to maintain like a license or a certification or something like that? So that's your straw person holding that license. And Donna, the living woman, is not going to be in the business. She'll be providing service from outside the business.
Yeah. So sort of like helping the business.
Yeah.
You know, helping businesses. Yeah.
Okay.
Assisting them with their day-to-day operations and financial operations.
Okay. You're muted, Wayne.
I am. I was trying to get rid of that feedback. So you'll have to teach your straw man to answer the phone, Donna. Is that what happens?
No, my other employee will do that.
Okay.
I've got other people. Yeah.
Okay, good. Very interesting topic.
Sorry to interrupt. It does bring up the question though, Donna. If you didn't have another employee, could you still remove yourself from the business and have the business operate there with you providing support to the business from outside as a living woman, but your straw person would be signing off on documents and stuff?
Yeah, I can't see why not, because when you think about it, we are, we are 2. So we are living women and men, and we are the corporate version of the straw man. So yeah, I don't see why not. I'm in a position where I can do that, and that's lucky for me. But because I am the employer and the employee, so I can do that to myself. But that's where it's easy for me. But like everybody's going to come up with difficulties when they're trying to bill somebody with a statement by supplier that's not educated. Because if they're educated in that, then they should be able to understand that.
Yeah. And you're right, it is just a matter of education, and it is. I don't know why people have got this whole difficulty with changing hats. I mean, we all do it all the time, every day. Mums and dads, particularly, if they're working and they're also at, like, and then they come home, and if work rings them, they stop being a dad and they put on their work hat and they talk to work, and vice versa. And then if they're a dad, but they're also a footy coach, then, they wear the 2 or 3 hats simultaneously. We all do it all the time. And people just, it's a different way of thinking about who you are and what you're doing, and really considering what the piece of paper is in front of you. Do you need to sign it? What do you want to achieve by signing it? And are you willing to do that? Because there's a lot of people who, they kind of get freaked out, and they think if you have to sign a document that's maritime, then, just signing it's going to drop you back into maritime. Well, not necessarily. If it's a contract that you sign that you want to buy a car off old mate down the road, that's a separate document. If you're signing a contract between you and him, or better still, if he's going to come and do some building work on your house, you actually want that building work done. You're agreeing to it, and you're signing that in good faith. So just because he's giving you an invoice with an ABN on it doesn't mean that that's going to get you back into maritime. You're actually signing that as you saying, yes, I want you to come and do this work on my house. So I think
That means he's in maritime.
that's right.
That means he's in maritime. He's got the
Right.
ABN.
And a lot of people they really do get a little bit, there's kind of this fear around interacting with maritime, and I'm going to keep hammering this, when we do our reconveyance, we take control of all of our vessels. We take control of them, so we can choose when to use them and when not to, and we can choose how to use them. So if I go and sign up for a library card, people would say, well, okay, you're signing that, so you're automatically saying that you're a resident. Well, if I VC it, then I'm signing up for a library card under duress. So no, I'm not saying that I'm a resident. I'm saying I'm having to sign this under duress. So,
but you have to be able to work
right.
in both worlds until
That's
the
exactly
system
right.
collapses. You have to get your head around. And like you were saying, it's different jurisdictions. So when you're in maritime, you've got that, you're in that jurisdiction. When you come home, you're in the jurisdiction of your home, bound by the rules around your house. When you're in the living woman, living man, you're in that jurisdiction around the rules or laws in that jurisdiction. So, there's different rules for different jurisdictions and different laws. And we just got to, I guess, and it's difficult, and I'm not saying I've got it, but it's hard. We've got to wrap our heads around which one we're actually working in at the time. And we've all been indoctrinated from generations to be afraid of maritime. So it's just getting over that fear, I guess.
So pretty much we've got the right to contract or not contract, don't we? Like we're reconveyed, we've got the right. If we want to contract, we can contract. If we don't want to contract, we don't contract. But it's a right.
You can just haul your straw man out the cupboard where he's hiding.
Yeah, but technically, even if you're not reconveyed, you're still living woman, living man.
Yeah.
You were born that way, right? You were born that way. And it wasn't until one of your parents, as the informant, signed over you to the system, to the straw man. But you're still a free person, free woman, man. I'm not really up with the terminology, but you're still free and you're still maritime. You just got to pick which one. Whether you're reconveyed or not, you're still free and you're still straw man.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't quite get. But anyway, all the more reason to air it here today. Anita, you've got your hand up.
Just a question with regards to the NAT form 3346. If you tick the first box or any of the other boxes, is there a different way of signing it, or do you just sign it? Do we sign it VC, or do you just normally sign it? Do you put a thumbprint on it? What color do you sign? We haven't covered that.
It's a maritime form. So I don't think they're going to care how you sign it. because it's just going to go to that business that you're going to bill or provide your services to. They're just going to file that. Nobody else is really going to look at it. It's just to make them feel safe.
In
Okay.
the
Basically.
signature block, it just says signature of supplier or authorized person. So you could actually just put a by. So by, you know, Sarah Gardner, or you could say Miss Sarah Gardner or Miss Anita, whoever, or Ms. That way you're signing it with your maritime title. So you could say, well, okay, that's my maritime persona signing that document.
Okay. Yep. Cool. That will make sense. Thank you.
Ray,
The only way this will end and get resolved in our favour is when we get an assembly standing. Because until then, it's their quasi system that they are putting over us. And once we get our assembly up and running, then they'll have to listen to us. That's the first thing. The second thing is, Sarah, remember when we chatted on the phone the other day about I was sick to the stomach having to do my CV at my job application? Okay.
Yeah.
I use the ellipsis to take the signature off the page on my application form. And it's finished, but I'm still having mental difficulty pressing send. I yield.
Yeah.
Can I jump in there, Wayne? I can't get a hand up, mate, for some reason.
yeah, I fixed it so you can't get your hand up.
Knew that. Why didn't I think of that? That's all good.
You just wave, mate, when you want to talk.
Righto. Oh, good. So back to that signing or autographing the form. So because it's a form with the tax man, it's a C jurisdiction thing. I don't comprehend why we wouldn't autograph it V.C. because if we just autograph it with our normal by a living hand, we're playing in their jurisdiction as a living man or woman. So I don't comprehend why we wouldn't do it V.C. That's my comprehension. I yield.
You could do it however you want, but it is a corporate form. It is an ATO form.
Yeah, so
really.
what I'm getting at is, though, we are then effectively, I mean, could it be held against us that we're contracting as a living man and we're mixing up our autographs effectively because we're living man autograph on a C jurisdiction form. I get what the form's for.
Yeah.
And, when we're playing in their jurisdiction, we've got to abide by their rules. But if we're not signing at V.C. like there's no other option for us is what I'm getting at. I'm just trying to get my head around that.
Alan, if you think about what happens to it, it probably doesn't matter how you sign it. Really. It's going to go to that person that you're going to send the bill to. They're going to file it away. That's it.
Yeah. It's not a form that has to be sent back to the ATO. It's just a form that comes out from the ATO to keep other people happy. But it's not a form that they have to send back to the ATO. But I do see what you're saying, Alan. And I guess it's like, how far down do you want to go? Do you want to say, I'm signing this under duress because I don't think I should have to be signing a form at all? In which case, yeah, sure. Or you could just sign it normally with no V.C. because you are utilizing your maritime persona because you're working in the maritime in that case. Because you remember, your straw man works in air. Your Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. works in maritime. Okay, so look, VC is always a safe way to sign. If you're not sure and you just don't know, yeah, sign VC, absolutely. But if you forget or you have a bad day or whatever, it's not really a crisis, because always maintain at the back of your mind, you've reclaimed everyone. All of the variations of you out there, you own them. So you can do what you want to do. So that's probably the takeaway. But it is good to start to wrap your head around what the form is and what you're using it for.
I'm with Alan, actually. I would definitely be using the v.c. The main reason I would do that, I'm aware that that form's going to get filed in the drawer of whoever's employing you, or whoever you're billing. But for me, it's a matter of that system is fraudulent. It's coercing you into it. And so therefore it's a fraud to participate in a fraud.
That's true.
So for me, I would want to put the v.c. in there simply to say that I believe this is a fraudulent system and I don't actually want anything to do with it, but I can't, sustain myself and living without it. So I would be putting it there for my own sake, even if no one else ever read it.
Yeah, that's my point, is that at the end of the day, if it wasn't for that C jurisdiction rules and regulations, I wouldn't have to be doing this. I just want to operate as a living man. I wouldn't have to do it. So they're forcing me to do it. So, but I do get that no one's going to look at it. However, they could if they get audited by the tax man and then they have to show it to the tax man. They got to show it to somebody. But yeah, I comprehend that. All good. I
was just wondering though, that if you v.c, if you take your signature off the page, it might nullify the form.
And I'll tell you what, I have v.c. at every form since I've been reconveyed, bank documents, bank accounts, the whole lot. And the other day I v.c. me weapons license, and I don't know, no one seems to be worried about it. So I just see it covers me. I yield.
All good. Ray.
My understanding of all of this is that Alan brought up a good point about the jurisdictions. So how I've navigated it is that, and I could be wrong, but this is just what my understanding is. Let's say you're doing a registration with the vehicle, and then you go through, but you turn it into a good faith agreement. You get rid of all the glossa and all of the C terms and all of that, and misters and whatever. Now it's become a good faith agreement as the living man. You can autograph it with the byline. Okay. If you're doing something completely in their jurisdiction, then you can't really use the living man autograph. You can use your legal fiction. However, how I navigated is that whether it's the living man or the straw man, you can VC both. You can VC a signature in the C, and you can VC a living man autograph on land and soil. That's just how I have picked it up. I yield.
Interesting. So are we all much wiser? I think I am.
Okay. You go with that.
Well, it's important to me, Sarah.
It is important, and I think it's good that we've got people talking about it. And I guess the other thing is, if you're not sure and you're in an assembly or you've got a local assembly, go back to your assembly and ask them. So what would you do in this case? Because it's only through, you've seen here, we've all had different points of view on things, and we've hammered it out amongst us, relatively peacefully with no arguing. We've just gone, well, is this the way or is this not the way? We're not sure. But that's how we figure things out. We're learning. We're new at all this. So, the only way you're going to find out is to talk to other people in your assembly, get different points of view, and go from there and do what you think would be. It's the prudent man rule, isn't it? What would a prudent man think in this particular situation? What would a reasonable person think in this situation? And you kind of roll with that. And as for the system crashing, it may be closer than you think. I've been reading some stuff today.
Well, and just on that note, we probably should bring this little conversation to a close because we've been going for quite some time.
Oh, Donna just wants to say something.
Yes, Donna, go for your life. You're muted.
So just piggybacking on what you were saying, Sarah, that's right. It's all new. Everything that we're doing is new. We've all got to think laterally about how we're doing things and which jurisdiction we're in at the time. And because we've all been indoctrinated into this fear-based maritime system, research if you're not sure about statement by supplier or filling in your tax file declaration, or all of that information's out, or not-for-profits, or for-purpose organisations, or unincorporated, even unincorporated associations is on the ATO website. So it's just a case of asking, thinking, and looking around and researching, because this is all new to everybody. And the more that we talk about it, and the more that we challenge it, and the more that we do it, the more people are going to be educated and make it easier for people coming along behind us. So
exactly right, Donna. And every one of us here in this room will have signed or not signed or done something that we weren't 100% sure about. We knew what we wanted and we knew what we needed to do, and if people don't just go and do it, I mean, don't do anything stupid if you're not strong enough to back it up, probably. But we need to we need to start changing this system. We need to get ready to implement a new system. Sarah's going to tell us how far away that is, are you, Sarah? You've got the debate. Yeah, Donna?
It was about sort of like, before we used to say don't poke the bear, because we didn't have the knowledge, and we thought we'd be doing something that would put ourselves in jeopardy. But there's ways to do things that are legit, and you can do it without having to poke the bear, if you know what I mean. So, if we can do it, and the more people that do it, then the more people will know.
That's a very important point, because the bear had to always give us the illusion of choice. So you find where their little choice door is and use it. Yeah, otherwise they aren't legitimate. It's not a legitimate system if we don't have the choice to opt out of that maritime.
Yeah.
So it'll always be there. There'll always be remedy there somewhere. A lot of digging needs to be done.
Very good. Sarah, we're going to go on to the word of the day. Do you want to do that?
Do you want to do the word of the day, or do you want to leave it till next week? Because we've got Anna's docs, and I want to cover off a little bit of info that I picked up earlier today about what's going on.
Okay.
Let's hear from Sarah.
I know.
Oh, there you go. You heard that from Alan. That's the way we're going.
All righty. So I'll jump into Anna's docs first. So this is from last Saturday onwards. She did an international public notice, which was called Blood Money Revisited, and she pretty much outlines all of the crimes that have been perpetuated on living men and women worldwide by the, pretty much in this order, the Vatican / banksters, then the monarchies, then the financial systems, not the banksters, the financial systems, lawyers, corporations, and then government. So government's the least of our worries. She's calling for an end to it all. Everything is based on debt slavery and securitization of living flesh or the labours thereof, and needs to stop. So that was the first one. Then the next one was an international public notice where she said that legislation is not law. And in 1926, slavery was outlawed worldwide. However, all of the legislative bodies, through trafficking us all on paper, have continued with the practice unabated since then. All of the laws, codes, acts, statutes, etc. do not apply to men and women, even to legal fictions, because the legal fictions were created fraudulently. Because, fraud vitiates everything. That means if fraud's involved, everything's off the table. We have only a minor number of laws that actually apply to us. Now, she's talking about America here, so there's probably even less here in Australia. But in America, to have a correct law passed, they have to be passed by a legitimately functioning government, which they don't have, comply with the Constitution, which they may or may not. Certainly they don't comply with the Constitution here, and it's odds on that we don't have a legitimate functioning government either, or in fact a legitimate constitution. Read into Congress 3 times. Well, here it would be read into Hansard 3 times, and enrolled as positive law. Now, there's a thing around positive law, and I can't remember it, but I'm sure Ray knows about it. But there is positive law versus negative law. However, in this particular thing, she said there's only, I think she said 8% of laws in America. And you think about the thousands and thousands and thousands of laws, only 8% of them are actually applicable to anyone in America. Everything else is bunk, and people need to stop applying these laws. Then there was another international public notice, Second Declaration of Independence. Apparently, they're trying to put through another Declaration of Independence in America, and she's saying it's not needed. The Brits might want to do one to get themselves away from the Brits in England, but she's saying for Americans, the first one still holds, and just because the Brits are lying about everything doesn't mean that people should pay attention to them. I want to specify here, Brits does not mean English, Irish, Scots, Welsh, or the Isle of Man people. This is the Brits, the criminal cartel at the top. Then the last one she has is the trusteeship of the Davila Family Trust. And this is also a public declaration, international public declaration. There are 3 parts to the trust overall. There is a land section, a maritime section, and an air section. Anna is responsible for the land, Alan for maritime, not this Alan, and Harold for air. Anna cannot operate in the other 2 as regards the trust. They cannot operate on land with regards to the trust. Everything in maritime and air has to come out from Alan or Harold. They have to direct things there. But the other thing too is that anything in maritime and air, remembering that maritime is commerce and air is ideas. So air is not tangible, and maritime is all about business and commerce and stuff. All of that relies on physical land assets. Okay? None of the trustees can remove any of the others, nor do they need to, because they all have their own jurisdiction to deal with. The banks are trying again to claim the money fraudulently. This is the money that they borrowed from the Davila Family Trust to prop up the banks for 50 years and blah, blah, blah. So they're trying again to say, no, it's ours, it's not yours. And Anna's just going, no, we've had enough. And she and the other trustees, through a law firm somewhere in America, I can't remember the state right now, they have asked the banks for a full accounting and audit of all assets so that she can establish a return of all of the physical assets to her in her role as trustee and fiduciary for the land. And then from there, they can go on to do the other stuff. Now, the other bits that I wanted to kind of add in there, because as people, regular viewers of the show, will know that I've been listening to Power and Pulse, which is an African podcasting thing. Interestingly, and for those who've been following along, Africa is kicking out the French. So many, many decades ago, the French went in and said to Africa, basically they colonized Africa, and they've been taking all of the gold, the coal, the uranium, the everything from Africa, leaving it impoverished and taking that back to France. So, for example, France is running on nuclear reactors, or we're the cleanest place in the world. The uranium comes directly from Africa. France do not mine their own uranium, and you can't run a nuclear reactor without uranium. The other thing too, which I didn't realise, was that 50% of all of the money produced by any of those African countries has to be held in French treasury banks. So the money that's propping up France is not French money, it's African money. And they can't use that money to build roads or schools or hospitals. 50% of it has to sit in the treasury to make France look like it's good financially. So these African countries, 3 of them at the moment, but there's others following, have kicked out France, and they're doing a very good job of it, despite France doing all sorts of dodgy things to try and undermine the countries. Interestingly, though, because these 3 countries, 3 of them, and this is without the others doing it yet, they're getting close, but just because these 3 countries have withdrawn their money, France is going to have to go to the International Monetary Fund to ask for a bailout. So the question was asked by this African nation, does that mean that France is now a developing country because it has to go to the IMF? Because the IMF, if people don't know, the International Monetary Fund is the fund that struggling countries go to and say, please, sir, can we have some more because we don't have anything here? And the IMF might give you a bailout, but if anyone remembers back to when they helped out Greece, they put the country on massive austerity measures. Now, if people don't know much about France, France has got fantastic pensions, it's got good healthcare, it pays mothers to stay at home for years, months and months with their kids. It's an amazing place if you like a socialist kind of environment. But if the IMF does do the bailout and put in austerity measures, as her name's Marie, of this Power and Pulse, she said France, and she's right, France will burn. Because think about it, the French historically have got form. They don't care about killing their prime minister and their presidents. They'll just do it. They've done it before. They'll do it again. Not meaning to be nasty to the French, but that's just how they roll. The other thing is, if the IMF don't do it, then Germany will have to bail out France because Germany is the only other country over there that's got enough money. Russia certainly won't bail out France because Russia's fighting the rest of, the European nations pretty much, because the European nations have gone, oh, Russia's bad, which it's not, but whatever. But if Germany has to bail out France, that's going to cause a huge ricochet everywhere, and it will then really, really, whichever way you go, it's going to take down the euro. Now, if the euro goes down, then Europe goes down, and that's going to cause some very, very big knock-on effects. So I'm sitting here going, go Africa, and what in the hell is wrong with this country? Because as she said on this podcast, the global south, and she means the southern hemisphere, is rising up. And you know who's not part of the global south, even though geographically we sit here? Is us, because we've allied ourselves with these numbskulls, numbnuts, whatever you want to call them, these idiots over there being criminals all over the place. And I just, as Wayne said a couple of weeks ago, you've got gold coming out of the Congo and Africa, you've got uranium coming out of Mali, you've got coal coming out of somewhere. We've got all of it here. And we're letting our country be absolutely strip-mined by this many people whose allegiance is not here. So I just want people to think about that. Ray's right. We need to stand in assembly. We need to start showing that we've got some teeth and that we actually want our country back for us. And on that, I yield.
Right, Sarah. What can I say? What can I say? And just looking at standing or seating in assembly, I do feel that that's a tad closer and getting closer all the time. There's a few people working pretty hard on that and hoping for a result in the very near future. And we do need to do it. We do need to move forward. We've been bogged down for a while, and it will make a difference. It will make, we are authentic anyway, but we will be seen to be authentic or more authentic if we have our governance structure seated and operating. So I look forward to that. You never know, Sarah, France running out of money because they can't steal it anymore. That might be the beginning of the whole. That might be the beginning of the downfall. Of the whole shebang. I mean, we can only hope. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I'm just tired of the show. I just want it to end. I'm like, and we've got the solstice this weekend too. So, that's the start of new things and the end of old things. So who knows? Maybe the constellations are in our favour.
Anita, have you got your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to ask, is it countries or is it corporations we actually were talking about when Sarah was saying France? Because it should only be corporations, isn't it? It's not really the country.
You're correct. So France, the corporation, has been raping and pillaging African countries. And the countries, the men and women, are actually standing lawful governments. And Anna's been banging on about Burkina Faso for months and months and months.
Yep.
And that's one of the main. So there's Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and Namibia's next to them. And they are calling themselves the Sahel. And they are on the western side of Africa. And it's funny because they've basically kicked out the French. And the French tried to stage an insurrection in Mali, and there was a whole lot of traitors and everything. And the Russians were there just doing kind of training exercises or whatever with the Mali loyalists. And so they all turned and fought beside the loyalists. They rounded up all of the traitors because there was a lot of people that had been paid off in the Mali Defence Force, and they shot and killed, I think, the Mali Defence Minister or Commander-in-Chief. Anyway, there was a minister and the Commander-in-Chief. The Defence Commander-in-Chief was killed, head of Defence, and one of them, his whole family was also taken out, which is really sad. 2 little kids, whatever. But they've rounded up all of the traitors, and they've got all of their phone numbers, and they're tracking back. The intelligence over there is tracking back where the numbers go to, and they all lead back to France. So, and people in government in France. So it's really, they're doing some really good work.
There's 3, is it only 3 African nations that have done that? I know Burkina Faso was the start of it. They were the one that did it first. And
Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and Namibia is the one that went in 2 weeks ago and put the check on the table at the IMF and said, there you go, we've paid you back. So they're kind of working with that. And there must be another little country there because Burkina Faso, I'm not sure about Mali. Burkina Faso certainly is landlocked. No, it's the 3 of them. They're landlocked countries, but they've done a deal with another African nation to use their ports. It's this tiny little nation that they're using their port to get goods coming and going. So they've done well. They're doing really well.
You've got to think that a good news story like that would catch on, and that a few other little nations might have a crack at it as well. So
that's right. You can hope.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I was just going to say, hopefully we hope that they can return to what they were before, because prior to European exploitation, that part of the world was advanced.
Yep.
That part of the world, as I was saying to you the other day, Sarah, how we use the word Timbuktu to mean somewhere remote in the middle of nowhere. Well, Timbuktu is a real place, and it's in Africa, and they had a civilization and a culture, just like, Mali, the Songhai, or the Songhai, whatever it's called, and all that. That's when Europe went in, when they did their colonization and absolutely brought in the third world. And then again, people follow the money.
Yep.
So whenever, people are desperate and then they migrate, of course, they're going to migrate to the places that the things were taken to. They're not going to go somewhere it wasn't taken to. And then, Europe's going up in arms about it. But again, they don't see the collective criminality that has happened, that they were partaking in for centuries and centuries and centuries, until it starts coming back home to Europe, like in France. I yield.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good things are happening. People pushing back all over the world, whether they've got assemblies or not, they're pushing back anyway. So, it is a sign of the times, I guess. And we're so lucky to live through these times. I remind myself of that every day.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, Sarah. Really.
No, it's a good life. It's just, we've had a lot of this particular movie, and I like Braveheart. It's just going on too long, and there's just too much gratuitous crap.
Every time you think it's over and you're going to go get an ice cream, something else happens.
Yep.
How long have we been going? We've been going an hour and
about hour 15, roughly.
About an hour 15. That's probably long enough. I think the word of the day, I did a bit of homework on that.
Okay. It was contract.
There's a bit in that.
There
Do we
is.
want to do that, do you think?
Yeah, cover it off. We'll finish off contract. That can be our word of the day.
Yeah, okay. Well, the word of the day is contract. And I won't be the only one that has input here. Surely somebody else will have done some. So what is a contract? A legally binding agreement between two or more parties that establishes obligations to do or not to do specific things. If so if somebody mucks up, it can be enforced in a court of law. Key elements of a valid contract. I always thought there was 7 of these. Donna, you probably know, but they've got offer, acceptance, consideration, capacity, and intention. I thought there was 2 other things, but anyway, we won't go into explaining all of those. What else did I find here? So then I looked up, I chased up what it means in the Black's Law Dictionary. So according to Black's Law, a contract is an agreement between 2 or more parties creating obligations that are enforceable or otherwise recognisable at law. So that's pretty similar. But in legal context, Black's Law Dictionary highlights that the term encompasses 2 distinct meanings. The intangible agreement, that's the meeting of the minds. So there's an intangible agreement there, and the tangible document that records and evidences that agreement. They also have what they call mutual assent, consideration, legally competent parties, and legal subject matter, which is quite similar, but I find the intangible agreement thing a bit strange. Contract versus agreement. An agreement is simply a mutual understanding or manifestation of mutual assent between parties. A contract is a specific subset of agreements, only those that create binding obligations. The document versus the obligation. If a physical written contract is destroyed, the legal contract, the underlying obligation and agreement remains valid and enforceable if it can be proven through other evidence. So it's no good just burning the bits of paper, they can still enforce it. And I also searched for maxims to do with this. So you've got, there's 3 or 4 here. You've got caveat emptor, which is let the buyer beware. You've got, and this one's a bit funny, ex nudo pacto non orator actio. So it's out of a naked pact, no cause of action arises. A contract must be supported by consideration, a reciprocal exchange of value. A bare one-sided promise made without any consideration is generally unenforceable. Consensus ad idem, agreement to the same thing. That's pretty self. Then we got one that I can't pronounce, contra proferentem, against the one bringing it forth. So if a clause of contract is ambiguous or open to multiple interpretations, the court will construe it against the party who drafted it. You've got expresso unius est exclusio ulterius, the express mention of one thing that excludes all others. So that's inclusio exclusio. So if a contract explicitly lists specific items, anything not included in that list is assumed to be intentionally excluded. And then we've got adjustum generis, and this one's of the same kind. When general words follow a list of specific things, this is the opposite of it, or same thing backwards maybe. When general words follow a list of specific things, the general words are interpreted to include only things of the same class of nature. For example, in the phrase cars, trucks, motorcycles, and other vehicles, the phrase other vehicles would probably exclude aeroplanes and boats. Well, that's good to know. There's another one, pacta sunt servanda, agreements must be kept. And the last one, ab initio, from the beginning. If contract is found to violate public policy, involve illegal acts, or lack fundamental requirements like capacity, it may be declared void ab initio. This means the law treats the contract as if it never legally existed from the very start. And that's the one we should all be looking at, I think. There's a few contracts around that you could apply ab initio to.
Donna.
And do they always have to be signed on a piece of paper? No, you can have a handshake.
Yes.
You can have a verbal agreement. You can even just have an intention. And I guess when we sign any of those corporate forms, there we are contracting with them.
Yep.
I found it interesting that one of the things that came up in contract a lot was to shrink, to lessen, to pull into, when you combine something, you lessen it, loss of material, contract. And even in terms of like contracts between people, like you bring two businesses together, you make one business. So that's kind of interesting. And the other thing is that it comes from, if you look at the etymology of it, it comes from the Latin contractus, which is to lessen in size. Undertaking of a transaction, legal or commercial agreement, which is to draw together, reduce in size, bring together. So it's all about that. And if you're using it as a verb, it's Middle English was contracted, to take a vow of marriage, incur original sin. So again, to draw together, reduce inside, bring together. So it's always about making something less too. So when you contract with someone, that's some of the background and I just found that interesting, that it comes up all the way through the definitions and stuff, is it's to lessen.
I guess when you look at it, it's like taking two entities and making them one, like in a marriage, two entities making it one.
Yeah.
Or a contract is always in commercial law. It's always maritime. That's why we're taught that agreements between living men and women are good faith agreements. You can still memorialise that on a piece of paper, but in the commercial world, it's called a contract, and between living men and women, it is a good faith agreement. And between living men and women of honour, a handshake should be enough.
It should. That's old school. So that's old school. I'm not sure it still happens even. I've done
it definitely does. I can give you a recent example.
Yeah.
This particular home I live in here, when we found it about 4 or 5 years ago, there was an old gentleman living here in the middle of COVID, and he was trying to build a new house. He was about 88 years old, and we said, okay, we want to buy it. Where do we sign? When do you want the money? And he said, I can't give you a contract yet because I don't know when they're going to finish my house. It was in the middle of COVID, so there was he couldn't get a finish date from his builders, or what it was like. The supply chain was shot. So on a handshake, he said, okay, it's yours when you're ready. And that took 18 months. And he was a man of his word. He didn't change one single bit of the contract. It was not formalised. It was just a handshake. So honourable men definitely still exist.
I worked in Darwin for 12 months on a good faith agreement. And that worked very well. So you can do it if you know the person and you know what both parties know what you're agreeing to. You can do it. I know that Mookie and Judgy, have a lot of good faith agreements that they've put in place over the years. It takes a while to do it, and it takes a fair amount of trust, but you can do it. And I think we should all take opportunities to see where we can do it with friends and neighbours and.
Yeah, I've done business that way, more than once, and it works for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for coming on, Donna. Oh, Ray, you've got something to say.
No, I was just going to say, can I tell a dad joke before we go?
Sure. Let's have a laugh.
What does a police constable have on his sandwiches for lunch?
Are you going to get banned again?
Traffic jam.
Traffic jam.
Oh, well, you're trying.
I got it from one of the kids in the schoolyard a few years back.
Speaking of police and putting that together with WA, we've got Albert and Callan coming on in a few weeks, I think mid-July, coming on to talk about their process for if you get stopped by policy enforcers in your car. They've got a very, very, Wayne and I've seen it. It is a really, really good little process that they've got going. So I'm sure that they've perfected it a little bit, and they're coming on, I think in about 3 weeks' time to talk about that. And so we'll have that one updated. And I think the following week, Callan's going to come on and talk to us about his experience at His Majesty's pleasure. And we'll see, what the similarities and differences are between him and Susie.
Yeah.
So, keep your ears peeled for those ones, or your ears open for those ones. And I'm still looking around for other people. So if anyone in your assembly's got something exciting that they want to share, and it could be anything you like, anything you want, maybe get them to give me a call, or you can reach out to me and we can get them on and talk about it. And as you know, it doesn't have to be about TASA. We've done copper, we've done UFOs, we've done gardening.
Oh, we haven't finished with UFOs. Though. We were going to go back.
No, we have not finished with UFOs. Plenty more of them to come.
Yeah.
So we're looking for someone who wants to come on and talk about Tartaria. I know Fred and Wayne are hanging out for that one.
Yes, most definitely.
Yep, Tartaria is
big subject. Yeah,
definitely on the table. So if you know anyone who knows anyone, we're getting Fiona and Teresa up in Queensland, embarking on a bit of a new healing business / project thing. So I've talked to Fiona and she said she'd be more than happy to come on and talk to us about that. And she also wants to come on to one of the UFO chats, and also wants to come on to the Tartaria chat that I haven't found anyone for yet. So
okay,
we've got a couple of busy weeks lined up. So
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. The other thing too, as a reminder, what was our mate's name from Darwin who came on and talked about what he did in relation to being pulled over as well? He had an affidavit he was going to give us a template. Ben. Yeah, so we had to follow up with him.
He was going to do that affidavit, going to put something together. So Wayne, if you can follow that up.
I certainly will.
Fabulous.
I certainly will. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Donna. It's been most informative. It's been very good. I've learned a bit, and I'm sure there's a handful of people that watch this will learn a bit more, and it might encourage people to get, take one little step and get a little bit out of the system, and get out of the system and learn how to deal with it, because that's the only way you can do it. You can't just stay in the system and think about it. You've actually got to take some action. So thank you, Donna.
Thank you for having me.
That's all right. And one other thing, I'll let Donna talk in a sec. I just want to say my email will be put in the descriptor as well. If you've got any comments, any thoughts, any questions, if you've got something that you'd like to ask and we can do a follow-up, let us know. We're open to that. And if by the way you listen to anything and you've got concerns about something we've said, or we've been factually wrong about something, or you'd like to correct the record, I don't bite, but some people might be scared of me. I don't know why. But Sue and Anita are two of the most gentle people in TASA that you will find. So I would encourage you, if you've got any concerns with anything that we've said at any point in time, please reach out to one of us, because we don't want to put false information out there. We will always correct or add context if we need to. So if anyone's got concerns, don't go through a third party. Just come to one of us. We'll fix it.
That's it. I've never had a problem with Sue and Anita. I've had a couple of problems with Sarah, but we've sorted it out.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Righto, thank you everybody for
Thank
your
you,
time and your
everybody.
energy.
Bye.
And
Thanks.
well,
Bye.
oh, wait a minute while I get this right. Stop recording. Here we go.